Well, hello, my paranormal peeps. My name is Matt Harvey. I am the founder and lead investigator with Deep Woods Paranormal. Let me move this down a little so you can see my face. I've been investigating the paranormal along with my wife for almost 30 years. We do podcasts weekly, we do YouTube, we do TikTok, we do a lot of different things. We have a lot of different little videos we share, and we'll be adding to the content that we post on our YouTube and TikTok channel here shortly. So this is the Bigfoot podcast for the week of for this week. It usually comes out today, which is Friday, and from here on out, we'll try and get these back on normal schedule here. The last couple of weeks have been just absolutely insane. I mean, there's just been no time to do anything. All we've been doing is running around and trying to get things done. So I think we finally are to the point where we're caught up. A lot of people have said, what's going on? Are you guys okay? Yes, we're fine. We're just busy with our personal lives. I just had a lot of stuff going on. Yeah, there is more gray in my beard. So we will be doing some upcoming Bigfoot expeditions. Right now, it is just so hot here in Texas. I think we've had almost 3 weeks now of almost every day being 100 or more degrees. That doesn't bode well with Bigfoot research. I don't know what it is about the Bigfoots. I think they're a lot like us. When it's hot, they don't like to move around. They don't like to do anything. I do know that they're probably still hunting. God knows there's just a million deer out here. So they have food to hunt and stuff. But today we're going to kind of talk about a new location. I was talking to a friend, and she was saying that she lives up in Huntsville, and she was saying that they have some kind of strange activity. She couldn't say it was Bigfoot, but she said there's some kind of strange activity up by where she lives. So let's take a quick look here. Let me share my screen with you guys. Let's see. We're going to go here. This is our YouTube channel. If you have not seen our YouTube channel, let me go back here. This is our YouTube channel here. I'll pause that. As you can see, we've got tons of content. If you're watching this, there's content for almost everybody. We do Bigfoot research, we do ghost hunting, we do demon hunting, or I guess you'd call it removal of demons from places they shouldn't be. And we do a lot of other things. We research a lot of different types of paranormal activity. Most recently, we just went to the jail. Behind me, you can't see her because I have my screen on, but there's a possible haunted doll. And then I've recently brought home a couple more possible spirits into the house as well, which I don't ever ask. I tell everybody not to do that. Do not ever invite anything to come home with you. I've been doing this long enough that I kind of know what's good, what's bad. So when I invite things, let me get to the page I want to get to. We're going to be on Google Maps here. So when I invite things home with me, which is very, 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 very rare, and I'm sure a lot of you out there are going, yeah, but you're not supposed to do that. But these entities I brought home were kids. They were kid spirits that were displaced, didn't like where they were. Multiple times I was asked by them to let me come home with you or put me in a better place or somewhere else I can enjoy myself. And so very strictly, I tell them they're only allowed in this office. They can't go outside the office. They have to stay in here. They can't mess with my computer equipment. They can't be scary. They can't hurt anybody. They can't do anything that they're not supposed to do. I set very strict ground rules. If they don't want to abide by those things, they're gone. I will kick them out of this house. I will clear this house so fast it will make their head spin. So anyways, and like I said, a haunted object, I've got the haunted doll. We're going to do a spirit box session probably live with her one of these weekends. It might be this weekend or next weekend. I'm not sure. and we'll either do it on Facebook Live or we'll do it on YouTube here live as well. And we might even do a live podcast where you guys can start kind of listen to. I don't know if you guys would be interested in that or not. We'll just see. So what you're looking at, and if you're listening, I will describe this as detail oriented as I can for you. What I've got is I've got a map of a Google map of Texas. And this is a little bit east of our location. We're over here towards College Station. So if you go basically straight across, you'll notice there's a whole bunch of sightings. There's a whole cluster of sightings in this area. This is the Sam Houston National Forest. And then Huntsville's just above the forest. The forest actually has 3 separate groupings of, I guess you call it forest land, protected land. And then in between there's homes and other things. So it's almost like 3 sections of forest, but they call it the Sam Houston National Forest. Anyways, Huntsville is just north of the very top of the Sam Houston National Forest. The Sam Houston National Forest has a lot of Bigfoot sightings. If you're watching on our YouTube channel here, you're watching the podcast, you'll see all these blue dots all over the place, all scattered through here. One of the places I wanted to look at was Martha's Chapel Cemetery. And because in this grouping of trees, there seems to be some kind of Bigfoot activity over here. Now, a lot of people report Bigfoot reports happen in cemeteries a lot. So I don't know why that is. I don't know why Bigfoots are seen in and around cemeteries and graves and stuff like that. Maybe they think it's just more secluded. It could be quieter. There's a lot of theories out there on what this could be. So if you look on here, this little section here, so we're looking at Martha's Chapel Cemetery. If you want, go look it up. It's in Huntsville, Texas. This section of land here, it's all privately owned. But next to the cemetery over here and then down back here, there's a lot of activity, a lot of Bigfoot activity. I think we've got one of my friends got a couple of trail cam pictures, and in one of them, I mean, I'm not going to show it because it's not 100%, oh, that's a Bigfoot, but it looks like there could be something there. I mean, it's like one of those photos where you go, that's a cool photo, but it doesn't prove Bigfoot exists. If you were going to try and sell somebody who is a non-believer on that, they'd kind of just go, or a person that's done this for a while, who knows what Bigfoots look like, they'd probably go, no, that's a little sketchy. I can't say that is or isn't. So anyways, we try not to present anything that we don't think is 100% pure evidence. All right. So anyway, so Martha's Chapel Cemetery is like just in the area above where all the other activity is. So on the right side of there's a road that goes down. It's basically a big square that goes around the Martha's Chapel Cemetery. You got Demon Road, which leads into the cemetery, and then you park up here in the front, and there's actually 2 cemeteries. I hate to say this, but it's segregated. You've got and this cemetery has been here since, the late 1700s. So unfortunately, back then, that's how things were. And about 80% of the people buried in the cemetery were from that time period. And it is pretty actively haunted. Martha's Chapel Cemetery, you can go to there in the day, but unfortunately, because it was heavily vandalized, people broke headstones. They snapped them in half and snapped them into, just snapped them into pieces, broke them. Some of these headstones are 200 plus years old, and then they egged a lot of the headstones, and then they also teepeed the trees in the forest around the cemetery. So unfortunately, the last time we were there, we were asked to leave by the local police. We had no idea that Demon's Road is a private road. Just so you know, if you're looking to go out to Martha's Chapel Cemetery, that road is private. So they only want people in the cemetery that have family members buried there. So just FYI. Anyways, the back section is primarily black, and then supposedly there's bodies buried outside of the cemetery too. Now there are people that farm out here, so this is kind of like farmland. In behind here, you can kind of see, if you're looking at the Google Maps, if you're watching, you can see it's clear cut. There's still a lot of forest in here. These maps don't really give you a good idea of how much forest there actually is in these areas. I mean, this whole area, I mean, this could be a couple, 300 or 400 acres easy. And this other side could be, over 1,000, maybe a couple thousand acres of just forested area all around the cemetery. So the cemetery is basically surrounded by forest. If you kind of look at everything around here, here's a water source. So I'm looking up here. This is somebody's pond, maybe. There's lots of water sources. There's some very large ponds in around the cemetery area. And then you go over here and it looks like there's even more ponds. This tells you how big these ponds are. This is one of the smaller ones. This one has a pretty long deck out into the side of it, and it's tiny. It looks like a toothpick laid in, if I had a piece of paper and I laid a toothpick on it, that's how big the deck looks. And there's several of these. So there's a lot of water around here, and some of these are really big. This looks like a lake. It doesn't say what lake it is. No. So yeah, and then this is all kind of farmland around here. So it's all open. Not a lot of people in this area. And then here's another sighting. Here's another sighting real close to Martha's Chapel Cemetery. Let's see. So here's another homestead that looks like it has another pond, a lot of cover, a lot of trees in and around it. And there was a sighting somewhere around here. And then if I go down here, here's another sighting about one homestead away. And this could be a mile or so away. There was another sighting down in this area. So I would say this is 3 or 4 miles from Martha's Chapel Cemetery. But if you look at Martha's Chapel Cemetery, you kind of go to the left, there's a huge cluster of forest all down here that probably doesn't have a whole lot of people living in it. And this whole area is very secluded. It looks like there's some actual trees that they've replanted over here next to it. But what I do when I come out here, I'm gonna be going out to my friend's house hopefully soon. I want to do some Bigfoot research in her area. So let's get back into finding Huntsville. Here's Huntsville. So she doesn't live in the downtown area of Huntsville. Huntsville is actually a good sized town for Texas. It's probably at least the same size as College Station, Bryan, if not bigger. And they have their own college there as well. So she lives, I forget where she lives. She lives on the outskirts. I think she lives out here somewhere on the 30. But there's a lot of forested area down here. I mean, this whole area a lot of it has not been cut. And a lot of this is tree line and stuff like that. I mean, if she lives not too far from Martha's Chapel Cemetery. And again, here's another Bigfoot sighting out here in Walker County. And then there's another one out here by Lee Hightower Ranch. Again, these are very forested areas. Again, there's water sources all around it. So when I'm looking at these areas, you're going, okay, so how do you pick where you're going to go look for these things? That's what a lot of people ask me. So how do I find the Bigfoots? So what I do is, again, I look at the clusters. Okay, so we know we have Martha's Chapel Cemetery. Immediately north in Walker County, there's Bigfoot sightings. And looking at these pictures, let's take a look at these pictures real quick. There's only 2 of them, but that looks like a lake of some sort. You can see that. Let me blow that up. There we go. So there's a lake here, and this is Huntsville State Park. So Huntsville State Park, this is looking like Bigfoot territory if I've ever seen it. I mean, look at if you're watching the podcast, you can see there's some kind of structure here, probably some kind of, I have to imagine it's a ranger station or whatever. And there's probably campgrounds out here, but all around here, all around the lake, is just thick trees. So yeah, essentially I would imagine that they probably have a campground. Let's just take a look. Bear with me as I type here. Wow. Okay, so this is real close to Lake Raven. And I'm looking around. There's several campgrounds over here. Oh, look at that. There's a Bigfoot sighting right up the way from the campground. And that looks like it's probably was a road crossing, more than likely. Maybe something went across the State Park 40 road. Let's see if there's any other sightings in this area. Bear with me for a second here. So yeah, over here, way over here. Then let's see, over by Shawshank District Golf Course, out here at Four Notch Loop Trail. Excuse me, guys, bear with me. I've not had my coffee. And then over here, oh, this is the Sam Houston National Forest. Okay. And then down here in New Waverly as well. And then over here at Texas Grand Ranch. But if I'm looking at this area, I mean, it's all just forested. So more than likely what I would want to do is I would want to find some kind of campground. It says campground restrooms. That's great. What's Raven Lodge? Let's see, there's a trailhead here. Just trying to see if I can find an actual campground over here. More than likely, because it's Texas, you can basically camp anywhere. And I have a 2-person tent that I can load into a backpack, pack some food. If you saw the episode where I went to Joe's, I essentially was off grid for 2 days. The only thing I think I would have an issue with is trying to, well, maybe not. I would probably have to park my car as close to wherever I was camping as possible. And essentially then I would go and hike during the day and then come back and maybe prepare food and stuff like that. But sooner or later, what I'm going to do is once it cools down a little bit, probably here in August, September, well, not even that much, probably October, so September, October-ish, I'm going to, maybe Amanda too, I'm going to go up to Joe's and I'm going to basically be trekking around his area for hopefully 3 or 4 days. I'm not going to actually stay on his land. We're going to go into other areas where there's other Bigfoot sightings and see if we can experience anything at night, and do an actual full-on investigation where we just sit and listen and see if we can hear anything. And then if we have any activity, then we'll essentially maybe respond and stuff like that. But let's see, on this side of the Huntsville State Park, it looks like thousands of acres, 2,000 acres of piney woods and a lake. So I'm guessing that's just the Huntsville State Park. This has got to be thousands of acres. I mean, you could hide a dead body in there, nobody would ever find it. I guarantee you that. Let's look a little closer here at where this sighting was and see if there's anything interesting around here. Okay, so immediately south of this, you've got this little, what does that say? Chinghuangping Creek. Yeah. So there's a creek here. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce the name, and the name's tilted vertically, so it's hard to see it from here. You know, I bet you can drop a pin. Haha. Look at that. Okay. Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. So if you're watching this on the podcast, on the video podcast, you can see there's a lake back here somewhere. I don't know if it'll let me go. Oh, yeah. You can kind of see it. Okay. So you guys can kind of see. Is that a hiking trail? No. What does it say? Okay. So there's water in behind these trees. So let me get out of here. And let me put the layers back on. So yeah, that's, you can see that creek from behind all that. And you can see how thick those trees along that tree line is. Essentially anything, you know, these Bigfoots are extremely smart. They know how to be quiet. They can move without you even seeing them usually. And then basically I would imagine they could come right in here and take a dip or try and catch fish or whatever, and then basically move on. So yeah, that's a spot where they could be. There looks like there's another pond. It looks like a farm and a pond that is man-made here. Just again, that's a little bit southeast of where the sighting was. So more than likely this thing was migrating. What's also interesting is what I normally look for when I'm looking for these things, I'm seeing. And again, I'm not going to tell you what that is. If you're looking at this, you probably see it too. But don't tell anybody if you figure out what I'm kind of hinting at. Well, that's very interesting. Let's zoom out just a little bit here because I want to see. So that's interesting. That comes down this way. All right. Okay. All right. So I've zoomed down just a little bit, but you can see, I think I've talked about this before. So you can see the cluster. So yeah, I would like to go out to Huntsville. I don't know if I'm going to stay with my friends, maybe sleep on her couch. I don't think she'd like that too much, but essentially go out there and explore the area around her house too. And look and see, because I mean, Martha's Chapel Cemetery, you got all these sightings all along here. I think if I was going to go out and do an actual Bigfoot investigation, I would probably go check out Huntsville State Park. That's where I would go. I would probably spend a couple nights there. I would probably, more than likely, see if I could walk out into these other areas where essentially there isn't anybody. I'd want to get away from people because Bigfoot's usually, they try and avoid people. What I might end up doing is even hiking down here if it's possible. I would hike from Huntsville. I'd probably camp somewhere along the shoreline, more than likely. And so yeah, that's probably what I would do. I'd probably camp along the shoreline. So here's campground restrooms. Yeah, I'm guessing these are campsites here. State Park Road. So I'm guessing these are all campsites. More than likely what I would do is I'd camp here and then I would go out and explore during the day, do some day hiking when it's a little cooler, and try and check out this immediate area over here. if you come onto Google Maps, it says campground restrooms. If you type in Huntsville State Park, this is where they put the pin, which is probably not correct. But there's this area of just thick forest. I mean, it's got to be thousands of acres. Here's another area. This looks like a boat launch. So, and then there's homes to the west of it. There's a lot of homes over there, but it's forested area still. I mean, all around this Lake Raven, there is just forest all around here. So yeah, this is definitely a place I'm very intrigued to go check out. I was going to go check out another location down in Bastrop, but I'm starting to kind of focus in on this. And sooner or later, I've got a couple of guys that are going to come with me. They're ex-military, and they want to. They have number one, they have amazing gear from the military, so they're going to hopefully be able to bring that with them. They have thermals and all kinds of crazy stuff that'll take our ability to see at night in the dark to a whole nother level. And then we'll also possibly bring the drone and fly the drone around here to see if there's a good spot. But if I'm looking on this road, I'm not sure. It looks like there's actually roads that come off the main road and come down here. Yeah, so what I'd probably do is I'd probably maybe not hike all day long. What I'd probably do is take my gear with me, my evidence collection gear, and of course all my camera gear and whatever else, depending on how many people are with us. And I'd probably try and drive down some of these roads and maybe get into this thicket over here on the east side of Huntsville State Park. But yeah, I would imagine if there's a Bigfoot population in here, they're probably coming down to the lake at night. It's probably on the south side over here. They're probably coming over in this area and then basically doing whatever they're doing. That's where I would go, or I would avoid people and I would just come down anywhere else that nobody's going to see you. But anyways, this podcast is getting a little long. So yeah, that's my future plans here is to go hit the Huntsville State Park and Bastrop too. There's Bastrop is where there's seems to be quite a few juvenile Bigfoots, and I want to go check that out. Again, I've been there 2 or 3 times. I've explored the whole park now, but I need to go through that one area that looked like a door. And again, because I was by myself and it was 2 o'clock in the morning, and I don't think anybody could have heard me scream if I needed help. I didn't want to pursue whatever those things were. I can't say they were Bigfoots, but I definitely wanted to go there. So yeah, Huntsville State Park is definitely on my radar. We've been doing a lot of research down here in the Sam Houston National Forest. And then of course we'll go back to Joe's. He lives up over in this area on the Texas-Louisiana border. And you can just see all the blue pins are all Bigfoot. And a lot of the yellow ones too are as well. They just basically, I chose a different color after I started using yellow. I wanted something specifically for Bigfoot. So these other ones might be, well, that is definitely a Bigfoot sighting. When I highlight a town, that tells me there's something there. Here's another one. So yeah, a lot of these yellow pins that you're seeing if you're watching this video podcast are essentially Bigfoot sightings. But anyways, that's how I kind of sort through my research and start to choose locations. If we go back down here one more time, I'll go over this with you guys one more time. Where is College State? Okay. So if we go back into this cluster, this is what I'm looking for. I look around, where is all the activity? I would imagine Bigfoots can cover quite a bit of ground if they want to, or there might be quite a few different groups of Bigfoots. And I would imagine if they're in one small area, if they're in, each of them probably have a territory that they like to stay in. I would imagine down here in this part of the Sam Houston National Forest that these are probably some family units down here. And I would imagine they probably have gone up and out this way, essentially to maybe look for food, or maybe they were a juvenile that has reached maturity, and maybe he's looking for another group to mingle into and become part of, to basically mate and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think that's mainly why they travel, and I think they migrate for food as well. I need to look into where the deer are, probably in the August and September time period, so that I can figure out, okay, what's the best area to go look for them. If you can find deer, you're probably going to find Bigfoot activity if it's a known area for Bigfoots. So anyways, all right, guys. Well, you guys have a good one. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you. And thanks for liking and subscribing to our YouTube channel. And we'll catch you on the next one.